Hello and welcome to Straight Talk with me, Sifiso Mahlangu. It is 7 p.m., channel 405. We are called ANN7. Tonight I am live. No recordings, no candid. We go deeper into conversation with Lodidox owner and the new owner of ANN7 and the New Age, Mr. Mzwanele Manyi. Mr. Manyi, I welcome you to the show.
Hi, Sifiso, and good evening to all your viewers.
It's very distant for you to be on the other side. You were actually the first host of this show.
Yeah, and I'm checking, and I think you're doing far better than I have done. So well done, congratulations.
Yeah, why, thank you, Mr. Manyi. It's actually peculiar. The second host of the show was Mr. Ricky Naidu, who came out of President Thabo Mbeki's office as the spokesperson. Yeah. And now is editor-in-chief of the New Age. Yeah. And you came out of the GCIS, and then you hosted this show. Yeah. So there's a hosting of big features on this show.
Yes.
I'm really glad to have you, sir.
No, thank you very much. But I think at the same time, it just shows the magnanimity of the previous owners, that they take a person with a complete absence of experience in these things. They throw in the deep end, they allow you to be what you could be, as it were. Similarly, as you would have seen that even with the presenters and everything else, this is the only station where people are taken from total oblivion and they put in a thrust into the spotlight and swim or sink. And I think if we do not adopt that kind of attitude in this country, where we expect people to be born with experience, then we're going to have a problem. So I really think that that is one of the things that attracted me to these assets.
But you know, tonight you are not the boss, you're my guest.
Yeah,
and
no,
you know,
that's fine.
You've hosted shows before, so you know the drill.
Yeah, no,
congratulations on this big deal. R500 million to an African. That makes you an African media mogul. Almost overnight.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. But I'm sure I share the space with a lot of other black people in general. I mean, you've got Iqbal Sev, you've got Given Mkari, and I'm sure there are others that I may not be aware of. But
the media related and responded very well to them. But to you, I was checking the shoes you're wearing tonight because you made black Twitter on your shoes, and I commented to someone and said the problem with Africans is that we want to pay more on funerals than our children's education. But there was quite a backlash. Yeah. I've been trying to get you on the show since the news broke, and you did almost every radio station. Every time we switched on the television, there you were. You hosted a live press conference on the ANN7 set, which was something we hadn't seen before. But how did you deal with the response? Because there was quite a hectic response from what I consider white monopoly capital media. They were quite aggressive to you. How did you respond to that?
No, look, white monopoly capital media, that you could expect. But I think for me, what saddened me in a different way, though, is a response particularly by black people. Not that I was actually angry with them. No, I'm still not angry with them. But I'm disappointed at the slow pace of decolonization. What some of that response said to me, it said to me, you know, the old adage of was very entrenched. That they didn't see this coming. And this was so unexpected. This just did not talk to the system. That overnight we have this kind of a situation. If a 25-year white boy had done this, black people would have been the happiest. I'm not talking about white people.
You would have been a champion,
Yeah, black people would have been the happiest. It just shows the mental slavery that we suffer from as black people. So for me, I just empathize with them, and I'm saying it means the job of transformation has not yet started. Mentally, we're still not liberated. So this is a problem. So all of those that said all kinds of negative things, I empathize with you. I'm not angry with you. I know that we have a problem of 400 years of oppression. So the issue of a successful black person is something that a lot of our psyches have to deal with. So
one of the words prominently that you were called was a frontier that you were fronting for the Gupta family.
Yeah.
Because there's no way, according to many, that you would have R500 million almost to buy the media companies. Are you fronting, Mr. Manyi?
No, I think that actually exposed the ignorance in the market and the ignorance of the people that were saying that. Because I was upfront that this is vendor financing. Okay, so the minute you say vendor financing, it means you are being financed by the other person. So it becomes an irrational assumption, an irrational preoccupation to say, where do you get the money? When you've already said vendor financing. If I had said, I've raised this money, I've come back with this money. So if you've raised this money from somewhere, you should have the collateral to back this up. Then this thing would be, then the allegation would have some kind of credence, as it were. But somebody that said from day one, this is vendor financing, it means that whoever you are buying from is financing the deal. So therefore, to then say to me, where do you get this money, is really shows that people have not even understood what vendor financing is about. And by the way, if again I was the first person to come up with this kind of financing method, then you can say, hey, this Manyi chap is into some tricks. But everybody that is anybody in this country has had vendor financing of some shape or form. And this starts with our own deputy president. In his loan deal, he had vendor financing. Our own mining magnate, Patrice Motsepe, he also had vendor financing. The list goes on in terms of vendor financing. So I have not done anything that was original. I've done what everybody else has been doing. But this just shows that people were just not ready for this kind of a thing. And when we say radical economic transformation, I think this must also be a lesson to government, that this is our expectation as black people in Progressive Professionals Forum, as black people in the Decolonization Foundation, as black people, I must add, in BBC, in BMF, and so on. When we say a radical economic transformation, we mean step change.
But this is a realization of a dream.
Let me finish this. We mean step change. We mean shock change. You can't say radical economic transformation and then you do piki macmir.
But is this a realization of a dream for you?
Yeah.
A young man from Middlelands, End of Fire, now owning a media powerhouse. Is this a realization of a dream that could not have come pre-democracy?
I'd be lying to you if I said to you 5 years ago I knew that I would be in this space. I would be lying to you. But I've always known that we have to, and I've spent the best part of my life fighting for economic transformation. A lot of people have benefited, by the way, out of the sweat that most of us have put in. So I had put my life basically on hold to enable others. I've been fighting I've lost a lot of deals because of the posture that I've taken. I alienated myself from white monopoly capital, which were looking for good black. So I'm not a good black. So I'm not qualifying for the deals that other blacks get from white monopoly capital.
You're a bad black.
I'm this black that does not want to understand. I'm this black that does not know his place. So therefore, in the white monopoly capital space, I don't fit. So therefore, this was a lucky deal for me, I must say, because I'm almost sure that no white monopoly capital was going to give me a deal, because I'm this nuisance, as it were. So, and a lot of black people, out of running away from being nuisances, they end up being co-opted. This is the problem. We have a lot of co-opted, very good blacks, but they're co-opted because they've got to pay the bills, they've got to do this and that, which is a tragedy. So this deal for me is lucky because I didn't have to share anything of my values. I continue to drive transformation, and this creates an enabler. So, for instance, this platform now, we're beginning to even open it to a lot of voices that were otherwise suppressed. So this is really a transformation exercise.
Let's talk about this bad black and good black idea.
Yeah.
You haven't really been a good black president of the Decolonization Foundation. And often people have labeled you to a President Zuma stooge or a President Zuma backer. Are you a supporter of President Jacob Zuma, whether he's right or wrong?
I'm a Democrat. Let's start there. I'm a Democrat. President Zuma has been enjoying a lot of objective support from his own organization, the African National Congress, even in the country. in Polokwane, where it all started, the split was 60-40 pro-President Zuma. So anybody in the ANC that understands and accepts democratic centralism should have accepted President Zuma at that time. We should not have had a coup, as it were. The fact that we have a coup is people that do not want to accept democratic outcomes. And then we moved on to Mangaung. At Mangaung, the split was even much more dramatic, 75-25. Again, it just showed that President Zuma is supported mainly within the ANC. And then from there, we went to the electoral polls in 2014 for South Africa, in the electorate. There was no secret that President Zuma was destined to be the president if the ANC was going to win. So people did not vote for the ANC blindly. People voted for a President Zuma-led ANC. This is just fact of life. And ANC got 62%. So to therefore have issues with a person which the electorate has preferred, it means you're undermining the electorate. So I'm not that person. So I support President Zuma wholeheartedly and so on, with all his faults. We've been told today that we never voted for popes. So we must understand this across everybody. President Zuma is not a pope himself. So therefore, he's a human being. He'll have all kinds of mistakes like others. But the important thing is that he has provided leadership for this country. We are now in BRICS, thanks to President Zuma. Our mortality rate has gone down, thanks to President Zuma.
Are you not concerned, Mr. Manyi,
yes,
that now you're a business owner?
Yes.
You're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Are you not concerned that often you conflict the lines to speak like a comrade? Because you're no longer the chief in the GCIS anymore. You're no longer the DG at Labour. You know, you're in a new field altogether. How do you separate the fact that you are now a business leader and not a comrade?
I think out of all of that, I will continue to be an honest person. The fact that I'm a business leader must not mean that I'm going to be situational. When I'm in this room, I say this. When I become a kind of a chameleon. I hate chameleons. I want a person to be who they are regardless of the situation. So if you think that because I'm here now, I'm all of a sudden going to be a different Mzwanele Manyi, then think again. And I must say this very emphatically, that chameleons are a problem. You can't have a person comes to a BMF type environment, and because it's everybody that is that way inclined, says all kinds of things, then go to a free forum and then gets there and then says something very different. I think those kinds of people are not leaders. These are people that are just chance takers. They're looking what's best for them, trying to... I'm not a crowd pleaser. I say what needs to be said, and I say it with the best of intentions. I say it with honesty. You take what you take, and if you don't like it, you know, life is not fair.
Mr. Mzwanele Manyi now comes in as the owner of the new agent ANN7 brand. But he's always been, you know, spoken of or considered to be Mr. Transformation, Mr. Radical Economic Transformation. The Decolonization Foundation was very vocal about, you know, black people taking key positions in this country. Yeah. Are you now going to change the spectrum of the media environment? Must we expect a ANN7 which drives a black agenda because that is who you are?
I think what we're going to have is an ANN7 that drives a South African agenda. A South African agenda is made up of all of us. This is what needs to happen. What has not been happening is to allow the black voices to emerge and so on. But the emergence of the black voices must not mean the total suffocation of the other voices, including the white voices. So what we're going to have here is a proper, equitable representation of all the voices. That's what we're going to have. Yeah.
I had a field day with all the press statements and media release coming from the EFF and coming from COPE. Some saying boycott ANN7 because Mr. Mzwanele Manyi has joined them. You know, there was a backlash of sorts. However, the ANC came out and congratulated you. Why is it that even political parties responded to you? Because this is not a political organization. You know, it's a business organization. I'd expect the Sunday publications who are intimidated by the TNA's performance in this country's spectrum. I'd expect the other news agencies, because ANN7 being the new kid on the block, has really ruffled a few feathers. I'd expect that reaction. But you got a bigger reaction from political parties. Yeah. Why is it that your persona and the persona of your brand became so political?
Yeah, look, I think this is exactly what radical economic transformation is about. It's a shock change. So I think we should appreciate this, and I think we should welcome it, because it means that indeed a change as desired. This is what black people want. If I am living in a shack, I want to wake up tomorrow, shack gone, and a nice house being built. I want to wake up tomorrow, all the dusty streets being tarred. That's a kind of what people want. I want to wake up tomorrow with hope for those that have been educated, have got degrees, that they can get jobs, they can start their own things. The situation that we have today is somewhat hopelessness, where people with all that degrees, we have something very funny called unemployed graduates. Why do we have something called unemployed graduates? When we grew up, we're told that education is everything. Without education, you are nothing. You must be educated. But today, people with master's degrees can't get employed. Now, what kind of democracy is this? So when we say radical economic transformation, it means a hope that is unbelievable, a hope that you never thought was going to be. All of a sudden, things must change. So when that happens, people that are even beneficiaries of this get shocked, and they respond the way they do. So I sympathize with the EFF. I sympathize with the COPE. They are just being shocked by this change. So it's bound to be. So I forgive them.
Is it possible, Mr. Manyi, that the move of politics in this country, Verwoerd once gave a prediction or prophecy that, you know, the blacks will lead for about 25 years and then hand it over to the Boers once again. We've seen the loss of the city of Joburg, the city of Tshwane, Nelson Mandela Bay, the Western Cape. Could it be feasible that the ANC that you and many others believe in was the ANC that brought liberation? Not financial and economic liberation anyway, just the ability to vote, whether secret ballot or not. So could it be that that ANC delivered freedom, but that ANC cannot deliver economic freedom and economic transformation?
Yeah, look, I think firstly, I think that was just a temporal setback from where I think I sit. It's a temporal setback because the mechanics that gave rise to that situation that we had in August 2016, those mechanics are mechanics that we know what they are and what needs to happen. And what happened there is that your traditional ANC voters, because they were unhappy, correctly so, with a lot of issues, real issues they were unhappy about, they decided to boycott voting. Now, the challenge that the ANC has now is to make sure that they go back to those people, not to convince them by talking and talking, with service delivery. ANC must deliver. ANC must bring water. ANC must fix the roads. ANC must fix the cracked houses. If ANC does that, ANC must ensure that it creates an enabling legislation to ensure that there's job creation. ANC must ban triple PFA to ensure that black business can get access to the pie. We cannot have a situation where the ANC government says we're going to spend 1.5 trillion rand in this particular financial year, but it continues to maintain triple PFA, which just favors white monopoly capital, and then you expect black business people to be happy with that. Now, if you have an ANC that does that, you've got an ANC that is going to fail. If you've got an ANC that continues to uphold CIDB, which ensures that black contractors can never make the grade, as it were, in terms of the gradings, they can never make level 9. And then the ANC says, for you to build this bridge, you must be level 9. And they know that black people are not level 9. Then you have an ANC that is going to self-destruct. So ANC must wake up, smell the coffee, and understand that these policies of government that it is leading, it must change them. You cannot have an ANC that tolerates triple PFA. If ANC continues to tolerate triple PFA, then ANC is not serious. If ANC continues to tolerate CIDB, then ANC is not serious. So the sooner ANC moves on those, it will restore confidence black business, which I spend a lot of time with at Black Business Council, is crying day in, day out. It's almost like the government has got deaf ears. Nobody wants to listen. They hear you, you have tea and coffee and biscuits, and that's where it stops. So if that continues, then we're heading for a definite extinction. And
you've had a lot of transactions with the banks, a lot of engagements, often calling the banks many names. The banks have shut down the accounts of Oakbay and the Gupta family because of what they say is 72 suspicious transactions. And the Gupta families have called to the banks to say, prove those transactions, and the banks have failed to deliver on that. Do you think the black bank or the state bank is a solution to black banking in this country?
I think it's a temporal solution. You see, as long as we have not changed the rules of the game, changing color of the people is not going to help you, because they must still implement the same systems. So as long as the asset-based finance construct continues to be in the system, your own black brother is going to decline your loan and say you haven't got the collateral to do this. So it's less about the pigmentation of the people that are there. It's more about the systems. So when you say the banking industry must be transformed, it must talk to the systems. It must talk to the Reserve Bank systems. It must talk to the Banking Act. It must talk to the actual infrastructure of financial services at a regulatory level, at the mechanics of the thing. So if you think that you can wipe out white people and replace them with black people and hope for a different result, it's not going to happen. So
it's a policy issue.
It's a serious policy issue that must
really engage.
Yeah. It's the black person that will tell you that we are living in a township. No, a township has got low values. It's the system. The system is like that. It's designed to say this area is like this area is like that. The metrics that is being used. So if you have not changed the metrics, you can be as black as coal. The answer will still be the same. Black people will still not be funded.
What is your word, what is your voice to young black people who are watching this show tonight, who are saying, I identify with Mr. Mzwanele Manyi. He comes from Dobsonville, like me, and surely it can be done.
Not Dobsonville, Middlelands.
You come from Middlelands.
Yes, it's my money that comes from Dobsonville.
Oh, Musima Manyi comes from...
Yeah, Dobsonville,
okay.
Yeah.
So you are all in the same sort of locality of Soweto.
Yeah, we're not a stone throw from each other. We can walk to Dobsonville.
Okay, wow.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
That's very interesting.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
But your wells apart now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
What is your word for people sitting in Witbank, in Kwamhlanga, in Danielton, in Siyabusa tonight, who say, I think I can identify with this man. The principles and the precepts I see inspire a young leader in me.
The first thing is to say, just understand that everyone has his own timetable. This is my timetable, you have your different timetable. I think the biggest frustration that we sometimes get ourselves into as black people is to work on other people's timetables and then get frustrated when we don't achieve when others are achieving around us. Just have faith in your own timetable. Compete just with yourself, not with anybody else. You'll be able to see progress. Just make sure that your tomorrow is better than your own yesterday. You'll succeed. Here am I. I come from, in fact, my home that was in Meadowlands. That is in Middlelands, that have converted into Lodidox offices.
The headquarters of Lodidox.
The headquarters
as I've read.
Yes, they've made headlines. And as I was saying elsewhere, that in fact, there is a positive spin out of this. That here am I, coming from exactly the same meshbrook houses that like everybody else, but this is what has happened to me today. Therefore, if it can happen to me, it can happen to others. But it also means one must apply themselves and so on, and you must work hard. I did not just get here just because I have political connections. No, I've been here because I have put in. Yes, I do have connections, no doubt about that. But the connections did nothing to get me here. But they are enabler here and there. But the important thing is that one must apply oneself. I've got a very, even if I've got to say so myself, a very interesting CV. I've traversed the various sectors, and I've worked for multinationals and blue chip companies at executive level. So if I could be trusted by white monopoly capital at the executive level for decades, therefore it means that I've got something to contribute.
If you could share two people that captured you, who were they?
Captured in which way?
Well, there's economic capture in this country that often happens, and many of us are accused of being captured. And there's also ideological capture. I'm a firm believer in Steve Biko, and I think if I'm to be captured, it's by the Constitution and Steve Bantu Biko. Have you not been captured by the Guptas?
No. But you know what? The interesting thing about the Guptas, and I think take away all the hate and everything from the Guptas that people have. Look at their business model. I've actually done what the Guptas have done. In that, you see what the Guptas do when they do their deals. They don't do this thing that we do as black people in this country of 10% here and the 5% there and so on. And they get a litany of a percentage here, but you've got no influence. They take over, which is exactly what I've done. Just take over completely, clean them out, and then give the entity your own direction. This is what I have learned from these people, from the Guptas. That's what you do. And this is what is creating...
Take over.
Yeah, this is what's creating the upset. If I had bought 5% of or 10% of ENCA, for argument's sake, there would be no problem. Why would there be no problem? Because there will be white people that own the rest that can still give this thing a shape or form. Therefore, the element of threat would be managed. But a situation like this, anything can go. You look at the example, for instance, it was unprecedented how we dealt with the issue of showing share certificates live on TV and so on. So people must brace themselves for brand new thinking, things that have not been done before, things that the market says this is not done, but here it's done because this is a new vision, a new direction, and so on. So
back to my question, so who did capture you? Or who did teach you? Or who did inspire you?
To be honest, what has captured me is the grounding I've got from the Black Management Forum. That has grounded me. I wouldn't be where I am without the value systems of the Black Management Forum. That organization gave me serious grounding, serious approach, serious principles in life. And indeed, also, I think one of the biggest mistakes of Azapo was to compartmentalize Steve Biko as a BCM or a kind of leader. Steve Biko should have been allowed to be national, to cross across boundaries, because I'm an ANC member for many years, and therefore you get this political categorization. But if Steve Biko was allowed, I think even in the ANC, there's a lot of Steve Biko ideology filtering in here and there and so on. And therefore those kinds of values, because what that does to you, it says to you that you can achieve, you can be who you are without changing the color of your skin and so on. So that are some of the value systems that drive me.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Manyi. You've been a delightful guest.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm still perplexed on why you offered double salary to the other talk show host at the other channel.
It's my duty to rehabilitate Justice Malala. So justice must be rehabilitated and some others.
Yeah.
Yes.
After the show, we'll talk about me and you.
No problem.
Okay, sir. It's been an awesome night with you.
No, thank you very much. But one thing, improvement on the show. I think let's get other people in the show that are not sort of sympathetic to our cause. Let's get the DA type, let's get the all others, the AfriForums and so on. And I think the show will add a flavor that is needed to be added.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mr. Mzwanele Manyi, you heard it for yourself. Come and give some flavor to the show. The chair has invited you. This is Straight Talk, live with me, Sifiso Mahlangu. A delightful guest, Mr. Mzwanele Manyi, Lodidox head and now owner of ANN7 and TNA. It's a good night from me. Pray for South Africa. Straight Talk, channel 405, only on ANN7.